Do you own real estate? It's the end of the year and it's a critical time to complete a legal year-end checklist. So watch this video if you currently don't have anything as part of your year-end review, because you may be missing out on some important legal documents. What's up, YouTube? It's Ron from Ronald, Rohde Law, and if you follow this channel, thank you for subscribing. I appreciate all the love. We've had a lot of tremendous growth this year, going from about 1,000 to over 3,000 subscribers. So this video is going to talk about what you need to be doing at the end of the year if you own real estate. In particular, if you own an LLC, and finally, if you have debt on one of your properties. So we're going to be going through examples of what I do for my industrial commercial real estate properties, and I'm happy to send you guys a sample document. It's just a very simple Word document, but if you need something to get started, minutes and resolutions, email us and we'll drop a link down below. All right, so let's get started. Year-end checklist from Ronald, Rohde Law. We help investors buy commercial real estate. That's what we do. All right, so every LLC, in order to protect your limited liability, you should be holding annual meetings. And to memorialize that, you create meeting minutes. This doesn't have to be formal, okay? This doesn't have to be in person. You just need to send a notice. You need to do this internally, even if it's your own single member. And the reason for this is twofold. One is for legal protection, so that if you ever get sued down the line and they want to pierce your corporate veil, they say this is a sham LLC, it's not real. If you can pull out years, several years of meeting minutes, resolutions, you'll show them that you are running this as a proper LLC, as distinct from your own personal matters. And this is really important because it does make a difference in the aggregate. Okay, I'm not saying that this single piece of evidence is going to win your case. It does create a stronger argument with the weight of all the evidence, okay? So in these meeting minutes, there are some procedural items that you want to check off. It's just in compliance with your operating agreement. And then in that meeting, what I recommend is that you talk about some of the milestones. So you want to talk about big decisions, refinancing, purchase or sale of within that LLC. You may have multiple residential properties within that LLC. That's okay. You may have significant decisions about tenant signing. You know, how long did it take to sign this tenant? What was your lease rate? What are some, I would say, little lessons that you learned? It doesn't have to be too business detailed, but the point is just to memorialize what were the big events in that LLC for this prior year. So acquisitions, dispositions, you can put your basis, you can put your purchase price, all that stuff. Because I'll tell you, as you guys get older and you're like me, I can't remember when things happened. And this is the only opportunity to put something down in writing in a very succinct memorialization of what happened. So the year that the roof burned, you got it in the meeting minutes, and you can just look back and say, did this happen in 2023? Did it happen in 2025? I don't really know, but I've owned this house for 8 years. On a loan, if you have loans on your property, and this is especially true for commercial real estate, you want to be revisiting your debt in terms of the remaining years before you either want to refinance, if your fixed interest rate will adjust. Because even in the commercial world, or if you're in residential and say you've got a 20-year or a 15-year loan, the point is that you revisit it annually and you just start checking down the boxes, 15 years, 14 years, 13 years, because before you know it, you're going to get down to 5, you're going to get down to 3, 2 years, and you don't want to get caught unprepared for a loan renewal. This is more so on commercial, where you may have a 2-year, you'll have a balloon, and it's really important not to get distracted because, as they say, the days are long, but the years are short. And you just want to have an annual opportunity to look at what's your LTV, what's your interest rate, what's your amortization, just to understand what your options are for better rates or extending terms, and you know how much term you have left. Because as you start to have more loans in your portfolio, all of the terms are going to blur together. And I'll tell you, if you don't create a single piece of paper with all of the loan terms broken out by property, you're never going to remember, and you're going to start confusing things. So put it down on paper, do it once a year. That's my advice. If you have 4 or 5 loans out, maybe 3 of those are all due in 2026. And so that may be a good candidate to refinance the whole portfolio. You don't necessarily see that intuitively if you just know your loan terms off the top of your head. Per property. So I do distinguish this per property versus LLC. You may have multiple properties per LLC, and you also just have, this is an opportunity to put a lot more granular detail. Not necessarily LLC matters, but this is per property. You might put some pictures just so you kind of have a visual reminder of what the property is, but set goals for each property. What do you want to do? Raise rents to market. You want to fix this up. Maybe you want to improve some back area, some yard space. But the point is to create an expense plan and budget for capital improvements over time. So we're looking at a property now. One of the AC units that we're going to be responsible for replacing is from 2006. We are budgeting probably within the next 12 months to replace that unit. You need to have awareness of even further than just 1 year. What's your 5-year replacement plan look like? Because are you putting money away for a capital expenditure fund? Or are you budgeting for a higher maintenance and repairs cost as your property gets older? It's not bad, but the point is you need to understand what your money is going to look like in the future as you're raising your rents. Same for a revenue plan. What is your plan for raising rents based on your existing leases? Who are the tenants that you're going to target in the future, and what will they be willing to pay for your property? So you can put as much or as little detail as you want to put into. My message to everybody watching is just to put something down. You can't have success if you don't even plan for any type of success in the future. Finally, I talked about capital improvements. A little bit different than expense plan, but what do you want to do to maximize the property? And that relates back to your first point, which is what are your goals for the property? If you don't necessarily have goals to improve it, maybe you don't need to budget anything for capital improvements. But I know that if you're a seller, if you're a buyer looking at a property and a seller can give me a one-pager sheet with my revenue plan, the expense, capital improvements over the next 5 years, I really have a high degree of confidence from this seller that they know what's going on at their property. They're on top of maintenance, preventive maintenance, and it gives me more comfort as a buyer if I see the seller gives me a little sheet that he's maintained for the last 3 years on his property with these 4 quadrants addressed. So just a little tip, whether you're going to sell soon or hold it forever. Finally, per investor. So I try to do this every year as well, because I'll tell you, my goals change every year. What are your personal investment milestones, and what do you do once you've achieved those? You need to constantly look at your personal goals as it relates to your cash flow, as it relates to your net worth, and what types of properties are you interested in buying. Did you have a good year or bad year? This one is really stemming from a lot of reading and philosophy that I take on, which is you've got to appreciate the wins. Yes, it's great to be hustling. Yes, you want to grind and grow and, financial freedom and all that great stuff. But did you have a good year? Yes or no? Make it a very binary decision, because as you look back on the year, I want you to take some time to appreciate the good things that did happen. Bad things would be a foreclosure and losing your equity, losing your investors' equity. Okay, that's a bad year. But acknowledge that if you did have a good year, and take a little bit of time to check the box that for your own personal investment goals, this was a good year. And then finally, what could you improve? Every single investor has something that they could improve. I don't care if you're Ken Griffin, I don't care if you're BlackRock. There are areas that they want to improve, and to me, this is the great time to do it. Once a year, just put it down on writing. Try to revisit it maybe quarterly in the next year, but put it down in writing and then look back at it over time, because I look back at some things that I wrote down and I kind of chuckle to myself because it's funny what I valued and what I thought I needed to improve. But the point is, just write it down, and that's the only way you'll get better. So here's to you guys. Congratulations on another successful year in your commercial real estate journey. Feel free to reach out and let me know if you want a copy of any of the meeting minutes or the LLC resolutions. We're here for you. My plan is to hit the track a lot more in my new car and smash that like button. We'll see you next time.